What's going on, guys? Welcome to the 6th episode of the Overcast Podcast. In advance, me and my co-host Ken Dono are sorry about putting this one up a little bit late. We had a couple of interferences. We had the Eagles game, and also just after CES, the time just really messed us up.
You're not kidding. Like, I am still... Yesterday, I was a zombie. I tried to stay awake, like, all day, and I think I finally fell asleep about, like, 9 o'clock, and I don't even remember yesterday at all. It was terrible.
The jet lag usually never gets to me. Like, usually I'm like totally fine getting off the plane, but I also had a flight that was like during the day, so I got on the plane and I got back, it was like 9 o'clock at night. Because of that time difference, it just felt really weird. Yeah,
I took a flight out at 9:30. I got home at like 4:30 in the morning, and it was just like, and I had to do a real estate shoot, and it was a mess. Never again will I fly like that again.
No, I agree. And you know what, I really like taking those red eyes, but it's hard on Spirit because just the seats suck.
Oh, no. I learned my lesson from flying that I paid the $46 and got the good seat. I got a whole row to myself. I was like King Tut on that flight.
That's it. All right, so today the topic is not going to be about like the actual drone, but today we're going to be talking about what controls the drone, the controller. And I think that this is like 50-50, right? Like 50% you want some really great specs from the drone. You want a drone with a good camera, all of that stuff. But one of the biggest things that really can set me off from a drone is if it has a terrible controller. And I think what really sparked our interest in this is the Smart Controller.
Yeah, so it's funny that these controllers have sort of been in front of us the entire time. We were at CES, and what I was seeing from a lot of the bigger drone manufacturers was a common trend. You didn't use your smartphone to actually see the visuals from the drone, and the company who actually set this off initially was a company that we rag on a lot for a lot of different reasons, and that was Unique, which is interesting.
And we continue to rag on them. But before we get too far, speaking of controllers and applications, we want to send a quick shout out to our sponsor, Skywatch AI. Again, this is like the third episode we've been doing. We've been sponsored by them, and it's all been great. We're very thankful to have a sponsor on here. It's a good way to sort of put some money into the show. Hopefully, with that last episode that we did being together, I mean, that was just awesome. But anyway, tell them more about Skywatch.
So Skywatch AI is an on-demand insurance app. If you are new here to the podcast and you haven't heard us talk about Skywatch AI, basically it's available on Android and iOS, and it allows pilots, whether you're a commercial pilot or a recreational flyer, to basically book yourself insurance, whether it's in advanced or on demand. You can get prices from $5 all the way up to $15 depending on where you fly in. And you also have the option for monthly insurance, which ranges about $40 and protects the hull of your drone. So it's pretty cool. I would definitely check out the link in our description. Let them know that Overcast sent you.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it's crazy when I first started using their application, right? When you go and you set your location, it actually can tell whether you're over like a major highway or just some sort of major road. Some of the roads it doesn't pick up because it's like a little back road. It also picks up local hospitals, local venues, maybe if it's like a stadium, local airports, and then will from there raise your rate because there's, I guess, more at risk.
Exactly, and that's the cool thing about it, is that you always know what your risk is, and for a pilot that's important to know exactly what you're around if you're not using air maps or something like that. But yeah, cool application, definitely worth the checkout.
Yeah, no, totally agree. So today, the controllers, right? And this whole thing was started and sparked up by that new DJI Smart Controller. For you guys out there, if you don't know what we're talking about yet, it's a $649 remote for the Mavic 2 with a built-in screen. It's got pretty much no other features in it other than that built-in screen. Dude, I love the fact it has USB-C on the bottom. USB-C is just USB-C all the things.
I'm glad it doesn't have that sort of weird USB-C wannabe micro. You know what I'm talking about? Yep. The micro USB-C port. The one that certain people have broken.
Well, okay, so Here's my thing, right, is when you're flying with the Mavic 2, and if you want to actually charge the remote and fly, you need to like plug into the back USB port, the full-size USB port, plug your phone in, and then charge through the micro USB port. But now it's really simple just to charge it, plug in the USB-C. You can fly while you're charging. You can charge it whether it's in your bag off of a battery bank. I mean, USB-C, just thank God. But that built-in screen, right, do you think we're going to start seeing more of that?
I'm thinking so. I think, as I walked around CES and I started looking at other booths, I just made a video today talking about X Dynamics and that Evolve that had a built-in screen. Matter of fact, that drone controller has 2 screens built in, and what I like about their remote is that they had a built-in telemetry, like the data for the telemetry data was built into the remote, and it also had offline maps, which was built in, which was updatable. I mean, that's just all cool stuff, and a removable battery, which that's actually something I want to see more of. But the screens are going to be popular.
So here's my problem with the whole removable battery thing, right? You've got something like the Crystal Sky, and that's got a removable battery, but I find that almost annoying because you have to continue to feed it battery power, and then it's like you can't just plug it in and use it. I just wish it had an internal battery. I know a lot of people are a fan of removable batteries. Okay, so maybe my biggest gripe with the Crystal Sky is not that it has a removable battery, but that it sort of like plugs into the back like an actual monitor. It uses those weird batteries. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but my Crystal Sky, it has that battery, but it's weird. The other day, I pulled the battery out of it by accident. I was updating the Go 4 app, and the battery fell out of it, and the monitor was still on. It just shut the screen off. So there is a battery still in. It's weird. There's a battery in there, but it's not enough to power the brightness of the screen. So that's why I think, when we're talking about these controllers with the screens, we're going to see bulkier controllers because you're talking about 1,000 nits of brightness. Something has to power that. So there's going to be a trade-off, but I wonder what the big push is for them to do this. Like, why not just leave it with the smartphone?
That's true. I think that it's probably just technology advancing. On that thing that you just said about the Crystal Sky having like a small battery in it and it stays on, I wish that they did that for like every single drone. Just put a small little battery in there that gave your drone like a minute or 2 minutes of just on time, standby time, sitting on the ground, so that when you pop a battery out, you can quickly throw one in and you don't have to go through the whole restarting process, gimbal calibration, IMU calibration, everything.
Yeah, I agree. I think things like that should be hot swappable, and that's where, like, I don't know, with using the Crystal Sky this past couple of weeks and just yesterday, I like it. I love the screen brightness. I like the fact that there is almost no latency to the screen itself. So I wonder if that is like really the reason why they're doing that. They find that there's too much interference using some sort of third-party app, bringing in an image. I mean, there's got to be something, because we're using Android on a lot of these systems.
Yeah. Well, so I find that probably what these companies did, DJI, Autel, all these companies really are making these remotes without the built-in screen to save money. And that's kind of their way to get people in the door. And I do agree with this when you're looking at a drone like the Spark, that by no means needs a built-in screen. Same thing with probably like the Mavic Air, really anything over the Wi-Fi transmission signal. But if you're going with, say, something like a Phantom 4 Pro, featuring a built-in screen, I think, is really the way to go. It saves a lot of time. I find it so annoying having to use my phone, and it just keeps getting more annoying every single day.
Yeah, I mean, so I know people were like, well, why would I buy the Smart Controller over, let's say, the Crystal Sky? And this is what I found with having the Mavic, the setup time.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That I'll trade time for, just a controller like that, like any day. I mean, just to be able to pull the controller out, turn the drone on, and good to go. Same thing with my Evo. There's times when I don't even connect my phone because I don't want to go through the hassle. I'd rather use that screen on the controller to be able to control it. So, I mean, that was a big selling point to me for that drone, was the built-in screen. Not having to need a smartphone to control it was amazing.
Yeah, so I think that what they're probably going to do going forward, like they kind of have been doing with the Phantom 4 Pro, for example, is offer a Plus version that has that built-in screen, but then they're also going to give us that standard remote controller if we want to save a little bit of money and if somebody, say, prefers to use their mobile device. But now, getting away from this whole built-in screen thing, because we've kind of been harping on that for like 5 or 6 minutes, whatever, but I think that the total ergonomics of controllers going forward is going to change. There's one thing I wish I filmed when I was at CES, and that is that like joystick remote controller made by that astronaut. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I saw that. And then there was another company called Shift. I figured out the name. Okay. I found the business card, but it's called Shift Drones. And it's actually made by a company called TIE, T-I-E. But they have a drone called Shift, and it's a virtual joystick controlled drone, basically.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I reached out to them. I would love to get one in my hands to try it. It looks more, it's obviously very much more toy grade, but the whole concept behind that is just interesting, that you have a whole hand free and you're able to do everything you want and control a drone with one hand. It sounds amazing. It looks amazing. And who was I talking with? I think it was Kluge said that just seems so much more natural to fly a drone with the joystick than it would with the controllers that we have today.
Right, and I'm so mad that I didn't get to check out that controller. I know that Alderin Flightpath put up a great video, and if you guys are interested, you can go ahead and check out his video. But another thing that I saw, and I talked about this last podcast, but while we're on the topic, this kid was controlling a Spark with his hand, with different hand movements, being able to push the drone forwards, backwards. I'm not talking about gesture control. I think that it's really awesome seeing these new forms of drone technology come through for controlling the drone, but I think that that's a little bit gimmicky. I don't think it's going to take off.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about all that. I mean, you saw what happened once he gave the controls over to the representatives, that they wrecked it right away. So you have to think the learning curve for something like that is pretty crazy. It's probably a pretty steep learning curve. And the other thing is too, like, do we really need that? I don't know. I mean, it's a cool software, and I'm sure DJI would probably implement it in other ways. Maybe for their gimbals or something, to hand control a gimbal. That would be pretty cool. I can see that being useful if you're, a director or something. But I don't know, a drone, that would sort of scare me just a little bit.
Yeah, and you're right. And it's kind of like when I think about actually controlling a drone, all I want is precision. And being able to use 2 joysticks with my pinch method, controlling the joysticks, I just think that I have the most precision in the world, and there's nothing else that could beat that out.
Yeah, and so here's my other thought on the controllers and their overall ergonomics. Like, I've been one of the people that have complained about Autel's controller and just the way it feels. It's a little bit narrow for my liking. I was a big fan of the Phantom 4 Pro. I didn't feel that there was any controller that felt like I had the most amount of control like I did with the Phantom 4 Pro controller. I know it was fat, I know it was boxy, but it cupped in your hands really nice. You had really smooth sticks. The gimbal, the gimbal pitch was perfect. Like, it wasn't too fast, wasn't too slow, and you can attach a lanyard to it so you could pinch it. And to me, that was the perfect combination. And a lot of these controllers nowadays, like, pinching a gimbal or pinching the sticks is really hard because there's nowhere to put a lanyard on, and I don't know. I just feel like we sort of regressed a little bit with precision.
Dude, that is why I love the Phantom, and it's honestly just because of the controller. It makes it such a joy to fly. It is fat, but it gives you something to hold on to, right? And
yeah,
also, it's like they've gone from the Phantom 3 using basically the same controller, give or take a few different buttons. They've used that same design from the Phantom 3 all the way up to now the Phantom 4 Pro and the Inspire 2. They've used it also with the Inspire 1. So I'm thinking, like, for the Phantom 5, if they're going to change it, I hope that they make it a little bit more like the Sendence remote controller, add maybe some more custom buttons. A little screen in the bottom would definitely be helpful, but also the fact that they made their now Pro controller, that Sendence remote controller, look a lot like the Phantom remote. I think they're going to stick with that design, but in order to incorporate a remote like that with a Mavic doesn't make sense because the remote's bigger than the drone.
Yeah, you couldn't do something like that even for the Enterprise lineup. I mean, the whole idea behind the Mavic line is it has to be portable. It's got to be a portable drone, right? That's what everybody buys the Mavic for. And with the Phantom 4 lineup, or the Phantom, I'm going to call it the Phantom lineup right now because we don't know what's coming. It's 2019. January still, we got a long time left here in January. It's very possible we could see an event at the end of this month. We don't know. But I think that we'll continue to sort of see a boxy design. I think we'll see like a Sendence style remote, maybe with some built-in characteristics, like a screen that maybe displays certain data, but I don't think they'll ever replace the full lineup of maybe having a Crystal Sky put in. People are also suggesting we're going to see a Crystal Sky 2. I've saw some tweets and some information leaked about that, which is interesting.
Yeah, so a little bit on that Crystal Sky 2. I also saw the leaks, but there's no pictures. It's just text. It's just Ositolev obviously putting out a bunch of specs. And from what I looked at, from what I read, it seems like it's all internal. The screen is not going to get any brighter. The screen is not going to get any more resolution. I don't think that the screen necessarily needs to get any brighter. I think right now it already cuts through the sun pretty good. The one thing I'd love is to see it get thinner. It's pretty damn thick.
Yeah, it is thick, and there is a lot of fans in there. So I know mine, the fans kick on pretty quickly. I don't really mind the thickness of it, to be honest with you. I mean, it seems to be, it's okay. I mean, I've got the 5.5 high brightness, and it gets bright, It seems to be adequate enough. I would like it to be a little bit more sensitive, I guess. It seems that it's not as quick to the touch. And that could just be because of the processor that they're using. If they do make one of these and they do it again, they have to sort of future-proof it to the best of its ability. I'm talking about 4 gigs of RAM, 64-bit architecture has to be in there. I mean, they really got to sort of pack it to the gills with whatever they can, because if it's only going to run the DJI Go 4 app, we're not going to have to worry about that thing bogging down anytime soon.
Yeah, and here's something that my one friend actually brought up, and I think it's a little bit interesting, right? So with these external recorders, things like the Ninja Atmos, you're able to basically use that to record whatever's coming through your camera, and you can record at higher bit rates, you can record in ProRes, you can record, and you can see, pretty much put a color correction over your LUT. So what he had proposed is, he said, do you think that you could take the Smart Controller, output to this recorder, and then record 4K at 60 frames per second, because the Smart Controller is capable of outputting 4K at 60. So that got me thinking as well, and I was talking to one of the reps at DJI, and I know that you actually brought this up too, because we were talking a little bit about it, but basically the output is going to be like 1080p, because that's what OcuSync is pulling in, 1080p.
Right. So, and again, the transmit 4K over a wireless connection, that would be difficult. I'm not saying they couldn't do it eventually, but the problem is the camera is still capturing 4K 30. Mm-hmm. So I can throw a 4K 30 into a 4K 60 timeline, but the frames that it's actually logged are still only 30 frames per second. That's the problem with that. Sometimes you'll see a video on YouTube and it'll say 4K and it'll say 60 frames, but it's actually a 4K 30 video just upscaled in a 4K 60 timeline, because maybe certain clips are in there. I don't know. I mean, I'm half on the bandwagon of 4K 60 and a half off. I only like it so I can slow stuff down. That is the only reason why I like 4K 60, is slowing things down.
Yeah, we had a little battle about that 2 episodes ago, 4K 60.
I know. Thank God we weren't in the same room.
Well, something crazy I saw at CES. First of all, we had those 8K cameras, right? They had the Sharp 8K camera there, and it was like, they only had one SD card slot, and it was like, well, you're going to fill up that SD card in like 1 second.
Oh my God. Yeah. And the fact that they're using an SD card is crazy. Like, what is the other form? What is it? QXD? A QXD card? I mean, you would think there's another card. I know Nikon has it that would probably have been more adequate for that. Or hell, why even do that? Just have a spot where you can connect an SSD to the back of it so you can fill that up. I mean, that's just crazy. Unless they're going to include like a 512 gig, SD card. I don't know. I thought that was sort of funny. The best part was you're like, oh, only one SD card? What happens if you ruin the footage? I'm like, oh, yeah, well, there's that.
Well, it's funny because we were talking to them, and I felt like we were like giving them ideas, and they're like, oh, that would be a really good idea to put in our camera.
I just felt like a lot of the cameras that we saw out there were so half-baked. Like, most of them weren't even working. Like, they were just concepts, It's like, here's a concept we have. It's a really expensive piece of plastic that doesn't turn on or work.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing that I was trying to get at. Like, there's so many cool things at CES, and sometimes you just see like the most boring booths ever. Like, I see some booths about like hard drives. Some booths are about like cords. But I saw one booth. It was HDMI cords that could output, or that could transmit an 8K signal, and it could do 6K at 60 and then 4K at 120 frames per second. So I mean, the technology's there.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. I saw. It's funny. I saw the hard drive booth that you were talking about. That just the guy was standing there, and I'm like, oh, this looks super fun. He's got like 6 hard drives out, and they had a pretty good space. I'm like, what did you pay to be here to be this boring? Like, what did you pay? Like, you got these guys over here. They got Chris Angel at their booth. What do you got?
Right. Now, all right, so back to the topic at hand, the remote controllers. What do you think of the Mavic remote? Because they have taken that design from the Mavic. They've used it with the original Mavic Pro, the Mavic Pro Platinum, the Spark, the Mavic Air, the Mavic 2, with a couple of tweaks here and there. But it seems like they're pretty set on this design. Do you think they're ever going to change it?
I think they will. It seems like DJI doesn't like to fix what's not already broken. And like after traveling with the remote this week, I think the subtle changes they keep making, like making the sticks removable, that was a big deal. Like, I threw it in my bag. I didn't even have a concern. I would like to see them go away from that analog screen. Like, give us an actual physical screen with data, like at least a little bit more data on the screen. than what's already there. Like an actual OLED display would be dope. Again, similar to Autel, I would like, but doesn't have to display the transmission. Maybe just, I don't know, have a toggle for the maps in case if your phone dies or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, but something a little bit more refined would be cool.
That screen always comes in handy because I've had times, I remember when we were down in Florida, I was flying my drone over that lake, wherever we were at, and my phone died, and I go, oh my God. So I was able to actually look at that screen and be able to tell my distance, be able to tell that as I flew up and then kind of spun the drone, if I was flying forwards, that my distance was going down, so I was flying back towards myself. So it's a huge thing to have that LCD screen, but honestly, when I saw the Mavic 2 remote, I was like, really? That's it? Like, you guys had 2.5 years to come up with something a little bit better and make more design changes, and you didn't. It's almost like they wanted to keep that same remote style so they didn't have to totally change their production line.
Yeah, and it does seem like, so it does seem like they do recycle things quite a bit at DJI, and I mean, hey, if they've got the resources to do it, by all means, go for it. But that's something that we do see a lot of. They recycle parts. Like I was joking around about the scroll wheel on the Osmo Pocket, that it felt like exactly like a Mavic gimbal scroll wheel. So, certain things I think just get recycled, or again, they have a time frame of like how long it's going to exist in its life cycle.
Yeah, and I look at the remote and I love it, but I really just can't help but think that there's a couple of things that they could change to make it better. I might be in the minority here, but I'd love to see them make it a little bit bigger. Sometimes I find it hard to grip the remote. I would like to see it just get a little bit bigger.
So here's a question for you in regards to the smart remote. Do you feel that the smart remote should have been launched with the enterprise lineup? Do you feel like it should have been included? Like that should be where their debut for that would have lied? So
yes, I just don't know if they actually had the tech ready. That's their biggest thing, is we saw the Pocket before the Mavic 2 was launched, and now we're just getting the Pocket. I mean, it seems like something that DJI is doing is like they're giving us like the first product that's ready, and they're not waiting until everything in the whole lineup is ready, right? So in a perfect world, I think that back when the Mavic 2 was released, they also had the Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual and the Mavic 2 Enterprise Zoom there, and they also showed off the controller. I think that they should have released everything together, because now it just seems like they're just prolonging the release of the Mavic 2.
Yeah, which is or prolonging the release of the Phantom 4 Pro, right? Or the Phantom 4 or Phantom 5 Pro.
Well, okay, so the Phantom 5 is so it's just been so long. But what I'm saying is like the Mavic 2 was released back during the summertime, right?
Oh, okay, I got you.
And it's like I'm going into the second semester now of my junior year of college, and they're still releasing accessories that I think should have been released with the actual Mavic 2 itself.
And the only thing we didn't see on that table that was supposed to be released was that whatever the wheels were.
Yeah, man, those look really badass.
we have no idea what that was, but slowly but surely everything started trickling out. But and again, for this year, I think it'll be a quieter year for them. Again, I feel like even years are always like years where we see it, certain things released, like as far as products go, like that. But I don't, again, I'm not expecting any Mavic, not even a Mavic Air 2. I don't know how well the Mavic Air 2 sold, or Mavic Air sold.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it seemed somewhat popular, but damn, is it loud.
Oh my gosh. Wait, did you see Captain Drone uploaded a video on like an Eachine drone that is it is an exact clone of the Mavic Air.
I did actually. I saw that. I was actually pretty shocked. It was
pretty quiet.
Yeah, but it's shameless though.
Well, so, God, I don't know what more we could speak on about the remote controller. I think that what we've got right now is great, but I'd love to just see something different. And
are you going to buy it?
The smart remote?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The smart remote's awesome, I think, in more ways than one. Again, I told you, I hate having to use my smartphone, flying it.
I do too. I hate when people call me.
Yeah, I hate getting calls. I hate throwing it on airplane mode because then I'm unreachable and I feel like, oh gosh, what if something actually happens and I need to be reached? I also hate using a tablet. I hate having to pull it out, and then usually it's Wi-Fi, so I've got to connect it to my personal hotspot. I mean, there's just so much involved in setting it up that I think that setting up the actual drone, the Mavic 2, is quicker than having to set up the full remote controller.
I agree, and that's, again, something that hopefully is improved upon, and I think that's where we need to start seeing offline maps, and we need more companies to have a standardized process between that.
Yeah, man. And there's two more things about the remote controller that I just can't get over. The first is the price. $649 is like astronomical. I think that's really expensive. I don't know how they came up with that price. I don't know
what do you think's the sweet spot for the price? What are you thinking? Like
I think
$549, $500?
I think a flat $499. I think that would be perfect because it would be enticing to purchase for people who don't feel like they need it, and then for people who say are flying the Enterprise and need that built-in screen, it's like a no-brainer. Oh, only $499. My drone costs $2,700, the Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual. Which now I'm, with the price increase, I'm wondering if you go and buy those Enterprise drones, what the price increase is going to be with the what is it called? With the smart remote now.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be up there. It's going to be well over. I think I was seeing $3,300 or $3,400 or something like that for the bundle. I mean, that's a lot of money. And here's the thing that bothers me is like people don't question price enough. Don't just agree to it because it's there. And yeah, of course the company can sell whatever they want at whatever price they want, but as a consumer, you have to decide what the price is worth for you. So that's the reason why like I always question the price on things, because I know damn well it doesn't cost people to build that, and you have an egregious markup even if you include their marketing, shipping, and pack, all that crap. It's a bunch of bullshit, and I don't care.
Well, look,
I don't care. Leave that.
For me, as somebody who flies drones on the regular, flies them for, I'm still a college student, but kind of a living. It's a no-brainer for me to go out and buy it. But for someone who's just flying a drone around, like the Mavic 2, just having fun, it's definitely not a no-brainer. Like.
Yeah, it may not be for the recreational flyer. Like the recreational flyer that's maybe getting out flying maybe once, twice a month, which would be a lot. There's no sense in having a $600 piece of tech sit in your bag or whatever. But like as it is like you and I, and I'm sure countless other people, our drone is in the air probably 5 days a week at least, maybe more actually.
Yeah, and going back to that release, I think that I'd be more reluctant to purchase the now bundle with the new remote controller if they released it on the same day, so I could choose to actually purchase the smart remote with my drone instead of. But I'm gonna leave it out there. We're running out of time here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed.
FCC hasn't even cleared it yet.
Yeah,
I heard.
Yep, that's another thing. I mean, if right now you can't buy it in the United States because of the government shutdown. So
they need somebody please help. I need my tech.
So guys, again, that's going to wrap up this episode. Feel free to go ahead and check out our last episode. I think that was probably the best one we did. We were both in the same room. It was awesome. It was a ton of fun.
We were both up.
Yeah, oh my God, I'm like half asleep right now. But guys, anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed the podcast. Feel free to let us know down in the comment section what you thought. And as always, we'll talk to you later.
Peace. See you later, guys.
All right, word.